I'm really excited to be here today. It's about 25 minutes drive. A farmer bought the building and he used it as a farm. The other thing you could do perhaps is to put a swimming pool. I'd like to introduce you to Claire Diedman. So we come straight into this wonderfully large sitting room and dining area. Now this room, we suspect, would have been a kitchen. I'm really excited to be here today, and I haven't had to travel very far, so we're in the beautiful village of Fontaine. And actually the house I'm going to show you today is full of history, built around 1123, and it's actually my neighbour's house. It's an ancient priory which was built in the 12th century, and it was known as the Petit Bornay, and it was associated with the Grand Bornay Abbey, which was close to Angoulême. So we're here. Fontaines is actually based in the southwest of France, the very sunny southwest of France as it is today, and most of the year. It's very close to Angoulême, which is my local city. It's about 25 minutes drive, where you've got the TGV, which has a 2-hour train to Paris or a half-hour train to Bordeaux. So it's very, very well situated. And although we're only 25 minutes from a city, we're in this glorious sunshine countryside. It's absolutely stunning. So without further ado, let's go and take a look at this superb historical property. What I love about this entrance, you've got the original sink here, and look at these wonderful stone floors and a beautiful old oak staircase that leads up to an old kitchen area that we'll see later on. But first of all, let's go through and look at the amazing grand dining room and sitting room. So we come straight into this wonderfully large sitting room and dining area. You can see the amazing carvings that are on the old oak frames here, all done individually by a local artisan. And actually, some of the wood that is in this house was actually made with the staircase in my house, which is 400 years old. So let's have a look at these old doors. It's just fabulous. Every little door and every little panel tells a different story, as you can see here. Now here, they would have been able to use this fireplace and also another one upstairs for cooking. And this was the original turn. So the animal would be, or the meat would be along there, and you'd be able to twist this round and turn it round above the fire. So it really is some fabulous features that go back so many centuries. If you come through the house, there'll be many artifacts that have been left from the old priory. You can see some of the old cooking pots and plates here, and also this lovely stone cross that once would have been a gate pillar, and the other one is still on the front of the house on the gate pillar. There's wonderful arches all around, which are showing back some of the 800-year-old history that this property has. So as you can see through these lovely stone arches, the window frames, there's a lot of light in this big room. We've got double doors at the front, double doors here at the side, opening up to one of the many beautiful gardens. This is where the family would come and sit. So you can see that a lot of the original features are still in this room. If you look at the size of the beams on the ceiling, they're all completely original. And the lovely thing about this property is it hasn't been over renovated. Somebody hasn't come in and taken all the original features away, and that's what makes it really, really unique. These kind of properties, an old priory where the monks would have lived and the prior would have been in here having their dinner and sitting around before going into mass, is extremely rare to find. And I absolutely love this house, and I can't wait to show you some more artifacts and some little secrets that are hidden in this property itself. Let's go and have a look. Now, this is quite interesting, this staircase, because the carpenter made exactly the same in my house next door. And some of these boards were taken from the original floor of the Abbey of the Petit Priory. So everywhere you look, you'll find these fabulous little details. There's even a carved flower in the floorboards here. And you can see the age of this is probably 18th century, when this staircase would have been put in. You can tell that by the big cast iron bolts and nails that go into the floor. Let's take a look further up. What I love about this place, look at this old original door. It's just wonderful. How many people must have come through here? How fabulous is this? You can imagine the monks coming in and sitting down and reading their prayer books just in here. Fabulous old features here. Now this room, we suspect, would have been a kitchen, because as you can see here, we would have had the turn wheel here for the spit again, but these are really, really rare. They're called a potager in French, and what it means is the embers would have gone underneath there and it would heat up the pots, so it would have been used for cooking. So we imagine at some stage this would have been used as a kitchen. Now there's a little secret in this room that nobody knows unless you live here. Going back in the day when there used to be a lot of lepers in the area, the monasteries and the priories would look after the people in the village that were very ill. However, they couldn't mix with the general public or people coming in to pray in the Abbey. So here is a secret room where they'd allow and look after the lepers, and they would come in here, and there would have been a window overlooking the Mass, so they could look at the Mass. Come and have a look at this. So this room, as you can see, is just used for storage now, with a spare bed for guests. But remember this little cupboard here, because when we go into the church, you'll see the original opening, so that anybody that was ill or frail and couldn't get down or wasn't allowed to go downstairs could watch the Mass from here, so they were never too far away from the priest. Again, it's got a nice fireplace which should be in working order, and it also has a separate entrance, so people could have been brought up into this room from the outside without having to go through the church or through the house. And if we have a look here, there's some really lovely old parts of the original building, as you can see here. Now, with all the religious wars that were going on at the time, at one stage this was going to be demolished, but luckily it survived. There was a huge storm many centuries ago that took the roof off, but then later on a farmer bought the building and he restored it, he put it back together, he put the roofs back on, and he used it as a farm. And that's why we're lucky enough to have this building and this priory still standing today. On my left at the top there, that would have been the original bell tower, and there would have been a bell that would ring and bring the monks back in when it was time to pray. And that's still standing there, although it doesn't have the bell anymore. It's still an ancient part. You know, you've got to bear in mind, this is 12th century, this part of the building, and that bell tower would have been there in the 12th century. What a wonderful thing to have in a property, a secret room. Let's go through and have a look at the library. Again, the heights of these ceilings is just fabulous. So you've got huge amount of space for storing books. We've got bedrooms to the right. So you can see these are really great spaces. With the high ceilings, it gives it a really good atmosphere. And also there's an old fireplace in this bedroom. They're really nice sunny bedrooms because the sun comes up just from the other side there and comes through, giving lovely light through the day. And in the evening, it sets over the other side, so when you need to sleep, it's not going to be too hot. Now, these rooms could probably do with updating, but the thing about this house is all of the original features, as I said before, are intact. So you may want to change the wallpaper, but everything is completely structurally sound, and they're really good sized, spacious rooms. Let's go and have a look at some of the others. So as you can see here, this is a wonderful fireplace. That was in the restoration when the property had sort of gone to rack and ruin, and it was restored in the 18th, 19th century. So this would have been put in at that time. Fabulous fireplace, beautiful stone. These rooms are great. I mean, they're huge. Look at the huge beams again on the ceiling. You've got the sunlight coming through from the garden, so it overlooks the garden again. There's so many opportunities of things to do with this house. Now, the style as it is at the moment, I absolutely love. And the great thing is the current owners have left it immaculate. It is beautifully clean. You could just move in and live as it is. Or you could change it to your own style and put your own little touch on it. But the great thing is the structure and the originality of the building is still intact. I absolutely love it. Again, this house is probably around about 200 odd square metres. But if you wanted to make more habitable space, look at this wonderful old door with the original door furniture. There is a grenier, which is a loft space. And again, this is the whole length of the house. So there would be plenty of scope, beautiful wooden staircase, to open this up and to convert the attic space. So as you can see behind me, the building has so much character. It's such a beautiful building. And this garden, which is very large, it's quite large, has two very big mature trees. So you could sit underneath those in the shade in the summer. And it's totally private because you're shielded here by one of the large bounds and of course the back of the house. And out at the back of the garden, we have a natural old stone wall, which makes this area totally private as well. And this would be a great area for me, loving my garden, would probably put an orchard in here, which would be lovely for all the different types of fruit. And it's got the sun in all over the garden. So the other thing you could do perhaps is to put a swimming pool of some sort, because it's far enough away from the house for the children and any noise that's made from the children playing in the pool to be far back. But it's a really lovely little enclosed space. So coming out of that little private garden there, we come through, and just through those trees there is actually my house. So that's how far away I am, just through those trees. But the great thing about this little street and this village is we have a dairy farm. And that means on Saturday mornings and Wednesday mornings, you can go up to the farm shop. It makes the most brilliant ice cream, and also get fresh milk on a Wednesday or a Saturday morning. But this area is filled with different brocants. There's little antique shops, there's little cafes. 10 minutes up the road is the town of Vertiac. That's got a few restaurants. It has music nights, open mic nights and all sorts of things. And it has a massive brocante on the last Sunday of every month, which is a really great place to get loads more artifacts to fill this house up with. So this barn leads out into the third garden in actual fact, along to the road, and carrying on up that road would take you up to the dairy farm. But behind me, you can see the most beautiful part of the building. This would have originally been part of the Abbey, and you can see the arched windows, maybe at some stage would have had stained glass in them. And we're going to go inside and have a look inside the old Abbey very shortly. But I really like this part of the house. I think it's the most original, probably dating back to the 12th century. And it's what remains of the history of this property. And in the background you can see the tower there, which would have housed the bell at one stage when it was a working priory. I definitely wore the wrong shoes today. So as you can see here, we've got the backdrop of the original priory and the chapel that we're going to go and have a look at. But just looking at this space, this is a fourth garden. It's totally enclosed with a stone wall. And the previous owners used to run a potager in here, which is a vegetable garden. So it'd be great for the kitchen or going through into the house there. A lovely space and could be put back again. But now let's go and have a look at the pièce de résistance, which of course is the chapel. So as you can see, when this property was bought by the farmer, he changed some of the old chapel into use for his animals and also as a farmyard. But you can see there are wonderful old coaches here that would have had horses on the front for perhaps going up to the main church up in Fontaine itself. Now this building, it is so rare to have a 12th century chapel priory attached to a property, because in the 100 Years' War and some of the religious wars, a lot of these were all destroyed, and it's so lucky that this one is still intact. As you can see right at the back behind me, that would have been where the altar was, and you can see the shape of the roof. The roof probably would have been higher than this current roof that is on there, which is also in very good condition. To my right in the corner, if you remember, we looked in the secret room. Well, that's where the lepers or the people who were ill would be watching the Mass from that little corner window up here. On the floor here, you have all of the original flooring. You can see some of the really ancient stones, which would have been the walkways up to the altar, and perhaps where the chairs would have been. Now, there's endless opportunities with this building. You could turn it back into a chapel, wouldn't that be wonderful? And then you could have private weddings here, or lovely weddings, and guests could come and stay in the house. There's so much opportunity. You could change this into a guest house itself. It's huge, really high ceilings, so it would have 2 floors. It could be a wonderful apartment or an entertaining room, because it leads out onto the side garden and also onto the 4th potager garden. So there's lots of space around it to keep it completely self-contained. It's a marvellous, wonderful piece of history, and it's a real privilege to be able to come in and look at some of these great old buildings with so much happening from the past. So I'd like to introduce you to Claire Deedman, who's our lovely agent who will be looking after this property. Now, we have this property exclusively, so to organise anything to view the property or have more information, you'd need to speak to Claire. Is there anything else I haven't mentioned about the property? Does it come with anything else, Claire?
Yes, in fact, it has quite a lot of land. So we've got a big plot in front and another one on the side, and quite a lot round the back. Of course, it could be suitable for horses. I know about this because that was my profession before. It offers a lot of shade, and this area is ideal for hacking, summer and winter. All the information is on the link, which you'll see below.
And all the information that you can have. Do like and subscribe to our channel, have a look on the link below, drop us any questions you may have regarding this property, and if you do decide to buy it, I'd love to welcome you to the village with a little apéro at my house next door. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and we really look forward to seeing you next time.